Hi, welcome. I'm Dr. Sylvia Peregrino, government professor at EPCC, and this is Entre Nosotras Latina Voices. Today, I'm joined by two of our counselors here at Paso Community College. Thank you for being our guest. Ms. Castillo-Attar, please welcome, and Oscar Velasquez, also, who's the district-wide coordinator. So tell us a little bit about your background in counseling. We'll start with you, Ms.
Yes, so my name is Carmen Castillo-Attar, and I work at the Center for Students with Disabilities within the counseling department. So what I do is I provide services for students that have disabilities, not just the academic advising. I've been in counseling since 1990. I worked in different areas, mental health, agency work, and so all different types of counseling. But I've been working here at EPCC for almost 20 years.
Great to have you.
Yes, Oscar Velasquez. I'm the district-wide counselor coordinator, and I also coordinate the Northwest Campus. I started my counseling career in 2000 when I went and studied at the School of Social Work at New Mexico State. I did a couple of years in private practice. And then in 2001, I was lucky enough to come into counseling at El Paso Community College. So I've been here about 22 years as well.
That's great. So a lot of experience between you two. And so tell us, what do the counselors do here at EPCC?
So what I wanted to talk about a little bit is the infrastructure of the counseling department. So we've got 5 campuses, and within those 5 campuses, we have 5 counseling coordinators that coordinate those campuses. We've got those 5 campuses strategically scattered all over El Paso so that students can go in there and receive services from us. I wanted to talk a little bit about the campuses and the structure of the campuses. We've got our Northwest Campus, which I coordinate. The Northwest Campus is small in nature, but we've got a team of counselors, advisors, and student assistants that help in the west side of El Paso. So if we move kind of central, we also have a campus there at the Rio Grande campus that deals with all of our health occupations. So all of the students that are seeking advisement and counseling in health go to our Rio Grande campus centrally. We also have our bigger campus, which is the Valle Verde campus, which I call the Mecca of El Paso Community College, because it's really big, right? So we offer a lot of services there at the Valle Verde campus. And then we move forward to the far east, which we have the Mission del Paso campus as well. Smaller in nature, but we also provide those counseling services there. And then last but not least, we have our Trans Mountain campus as well, which provide a lot of the services also to our military folks and our families.
That's great that we have counselors available at every campus. And so mostly what type of counseling do you do?
We do, I just wanted to add that there's a CSD office in every campus as well. So there's a counselor that assists students with disabilities in every campus. So primarily we do academic counseling for students. We have returning students, we have first time in college students, all types of students. And of course, as Oscar mentioned, because of the different nature of services to each campus, some of the campuses have specific populations of students. So we do academic counseling, we do some type of crisis intervention also as well in all campuses and all counselors do.
Right, and absolutely, and I just wanted to add and piggyback on what Ms. Attar is saying. We've got special populations of students that we deal with. As she mentioned, the CSD department deals with our CSD clients, but we also have populations in the high school. For example, we've got counselors that are working with dual credit and early college students at the high schools and providing those counseling and academic advising services. And we also have other populations within EPCC that deal with athletics. We provide athletic advisement, and we also deal with international students, which is a big population. And also we do also address a lot of the continuing ed advisement as well. But yeah, there's a lot of diversity as far as populations within the counseling departments.
And so do you have specialized counselors for different areas?
Absolutely. We've got specialized counselors that deal, like for example, Ms. Attar deals with the disability students. And we also have counselors and advisors that actually are the leads for special populations like international and athletics.
And veterans too.
So but they could call any campus and then find out who to speak to specifically for those areas, or is that in our website as well?
They can call us, and we have actually developed a listing of counselors that are leads at each campus for our 8 areas of study, because we've got 8 areas of study that we have now, these pathways that are listed. So each counselor and advisor are assigned those areas of study. So if students come in, depending on their area of study, then they can talk to that particular counselor and advisor at that campus.
That's great, and I know you sent us a visual of the areas of study, so we'll go ahead and have that for our audience to be able to see. And so with COVID, a lot of people have reassessed their life, or maybe decided to take on a second career. How would they go about meeting with a counselor to find out entrance requirements and things like that?
So we have online advising that they can log in if you go to the epcc.edu and just go online assistance, or just in the search box look for counseling. There's a get connected button there, and they can connect online with a counselor. They can go in person to any campus and meet with a counselor, and usually we'll go over the requirements that they need to start, or to return to college.
So they can easily access us by 4 methods, right? So Carmen was talking about the virtual realm. So now everything is booming as far as the virtual platform. So they can connect there. They can actually email us, the traditional way, right, of emailing us. They can get the phone and call us. We're at all campuses. We're there for the students. And last but not least, I think the face-to-face connection nowadays. Yeah.
Recently, I had a friend whose son is starting at EPCC, but they were wondering about whether or not the classes transfer. Is that something that you help them with as well?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we specialize in is that we assist students with their degree pathway and their degrees. And we try to tailor that degree pathway to that university of choice, right? So we have our partner universities here around the region, like UTEP, New Mexico State, Texas Tech. But it becomes a little bit more challenging when the student goes out of the state, right? Let's say to another state in the country. So that becomes a little bit more challenging. So we try our best to tailor those degree plans to that particular university, because we really want to help students get from A to B.
And so do most students have to see a counselor, or is it optional?
I mean, it's recommended that all students see a counselor, because there's a lot of details that entail a counseling session or advising session, and a lot of the students get a lot of hearsay, or word of mouth information that sometimes is misinformation. So I think the best way to do things right from the beginning is to see a counselor. However, it's not. I mean, a lot of the students don't.
Okay, but we encourage them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We really do encourage them to come and visit us. Now, those populations that need to see our counseling departments must see the counseling departments because of certain areas that they need to fulfill. For example, we in the state of Texas, we administer the TSI, which is the Texas Success Initiative, which is a test given in reading, writing, and in math. So if those students that did not do well in that exam, it is recommended and actually mandatory for them to see us.
Because they might need certain classes to get up to.
Absolutely. So they might need some developmental work, or they might need more assistance as far as either retesting, taking the courses that are needed to fulfill that TSI requirement.
And I know I've seen in the past that we even offer boot camps for that. in case people have been out of high school or have been out of school for a while and they need a little math refresher?
Yeah, the prep program offers those boot camps to either retest and do better the next time around, or for before they take the TSI test, so they can do better the first time around. So they're offered, and so it is a very good resource for students if they want to either take it or retake the TSI.
And those are free of charge as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, anything that is tutoring related and retesting is free of charge, right? The test per se is not free. It's $29 or per test. But all of our services are free of charge at El Paso Community College when it deals with services relating to coursework.
And I know that they're testing now at the district level to do dual credit. Those are complimentary, right? The district covers those costs?
Right, right. Yes, and we're seeing more and more of that being done throughout the districts because of our partnership with the districts. So we're seeing that scale up. So in turn, that helps us as counseling, as the counseling department, because guess what? We're going actually to the high schools to advise those students. So yeah, we have an initiative called Operation College Bound, in which we visit the high schools and advise students at the high schools.
And I know that they're even helping people do the FAFSA, which is the federal financial aid form. Is that also with part of that Operation College Bound?
Per se, it's not part of the Operation College Bound initiative, but it's actually part of the FAFSA nights that the financial aid department provides.
I myself was a first generation college student, so there's a lot to learn, and thankfully we have good advisors that can help guide our first generation college students that might not know all the ins and outs. So we've talked a little bit about academic counseling. What about crisis counseling? What if a student comes to me as a faculty member and tells me that they're suicidal, or that they're in a bad relationship and need to get out? Who would I refer them to?
To any counselor as well too. We are prepared, our counselors by training, and so we should be able to do some type of crisis counseling. That is part of the duties of a counselor at EPCC. There's some of us that are licensed professional counselors that work at EPCC, and we do a little bit of some personal counseling when it's needed. A lot of our students come with test anxiety about, doing well in school. So those types of issues are the ones that we see in our offices, and we can do, 1, 2, 3 meetings, and the students will be okay. If they need more in-depth counseling, we have resources that we can provide the students so they can go out in the community and get that assistance.
And I know, Mr. Velasquez, you mentioned that you were in private practice. If we refer students to those community-based providers, are there resources for that? Because maybe a college student might not have insurance, so is some of that complimentary or sliding scale?
Well, the counseling department, every counselor and advisor has a resource listing that we share with students. So depending on the situation, we refer students to our community partners and network with those partners. So some individuals might have pro bono sessions for their clients, and some might have a fee scale, a sliding fee scale, what they call. So a lot of times we really need to do the research as far as where we're referring the student to and who they're going to be seeing, because a lot of times it really depends on the student and how the student is going to follow up with those sessions and that referral, because a lot of times that connection might not be done because of the lack of either us calling or us setting up the appointment for them, or finding out just simply the information.
So you, all our counselors already have some of those relationships with the community-based providers?
Oh, absolutely. Some of the agencies actually send us flyers, send us information to attend maybe their seminars, their workshops, so that we could help students in the particular areas and the challenges that students are facing. Because as Carmen is saying, each session is very different. When students walk into our offices, we really don't know what to expect from them. They might need academic advisement, or they might need crisis intervention, or they might need a combination of both. So we really have to be prepared, because nowadays, COVID, really did a number on us, and we were seeing more and more students coming in because of post-COVID issues.
And I know that a lot of people lost family members or lost loved ones, or even became orphans because of COVID. So those are long-term issues that are going to be with students nowadays.
Yes, definitely. There are going to be long-term issues. However, if I had a couple of students that at the beginning of when we started coming to in-person classes, they came in because they felt overwhelmed. One of my students, I remember saying, "You know what? I used to always tell my mom how my first day of school went, and now that I don't have her, I feel really bad." So they come in and we do a session, we talk about it, and then we refer them out to the community for long-term assistance and counseling.
No, and that's wonderful, because I think with this generation, maybe I know I'm teaching in person. We have been teaching in person, but this is the semester that I feel we're kind of back to normal. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking some of our new freshmen, this is the first time they step on a campus, because for the last year or so they were virtual. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of even maybe there's some social anxiety related to being back in a classroom and in a group.
I see a lot of that, a lot of social anxiety, about a lot of apprehension about coming back in person, and you have all sides of the spectrum, right? People that are very against coming back on in person, and they're like, no, I want online classes. But sometimes there's a lab that they have to come in person, and they're like, I can't, and they have a lot of anxiety about that. And there's some others that are really relaxed, and they were eager to come in person to school. So there's the spectrum is really wide.
And the good thing is that we have those two platforms, right, Carmen? Mm-hmm. We've got the virtual platform in case they don't want to come in, mm-hmm. and they're demonstrating that anxiety. And we've got that face-to-face component for those that want that connection, right, that human connection. So the good thing is that the counseling department has been very instrumental in providing services at the virtual level and at the face-to-face level.
Do you think that this generation, or at least we had a speaker last week that talked about how this generation, which we're not even sure if they're Generation Z or what we're calling them, but do you think they have higher levels of social anxiety?
It seems like they have a lot. The statistics show that this generation, new generation, have a lot more anxiety overall, and more depression and more mental health, and it's just I guess everything is so out in the open, news, shootings, everything. So all that, they're absorbing it, and it's making it very unsafe, or feeling the uncertainty of, just going to the mall, going to the grocery store, or coming to college. There's always that threat that something may happen. So there's a lot of anxiety because of that.
And I agree. I think they're juggling a lot. Mm-hmm. They're juggling friends, they're juggling family, they're juggling school, they're juggling work, they're juggling the epidemic, right? So all of this contributes to that anxiety, right? Those issues that they're demonstrating.
And so, do you think after like the Walmart shooting and all the and COVID, Should we all go see a counselor or be in therapy?
Not necessarily. I think everybody copes differently. So there's people that that they need to go and see a counselor or a therapist, and some other people that are fine, and they have good coping skills. So I assisted in the response from the city for the shooting at Walmart, and there was a lot of people coming in, just to talk to somebody, and some people returned, and some people was like, okay, I just needed to vent, and I just needed to tell you how I felt about it. So it was, the city had a great response. We have at the college the CIRT team, which is the CERT team, which is a crisis intervention response team also. And we were ready to speak to classes or to speak to individuals regarding that situation here at EPCC.
And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for stepping up and helping our community. And that could have just been people that were having, it wasn't the direct victims themselves?
So I saw a couple of people that were there, and they had a lot of issues, with anxiety. They couldn't go to the store. They couldn't do a lot of things, and their stories were, really terrible. The experience that they had about, the mass shooting and being there and being present and being survivors.
No, and I think it made us all think twice about where the exit doors are or where we would hide, since these mass shootings are so commonplace in the United States, unfortunately. Yeah, I could see where somebody would want to order their groceries online instead of going somewhere.
And now that is mainstream, right? We order our things, we just go stop, in a parking space, and they bring you everything instead of going in the store. So that is, I think, a reflection of society, and I think that also reflects, what people are feeling and thinking, and wanting to be safe.
And I actually I had the chance to travel to Ireland earlier this year. And what shocked me is that, I guess as an American, I'm so used to, going through security and having a clear backpack, at least for sporting events. Over there, nothing. Like, nobody checked our bags. No, we could walk into, big touristy places, and there was security, but you didn't have to go through a whole process like we do here in the U.S. So that was, I guess we just take it for granted that we're going to be checked and have a clear backpack to go in. So it's, I guess maybe their culture is different. So I know we talked a little bit about academic counseling and the social emotional counseling that you do. What else does the counseling services provide?
So a lot of times when we talk about counseling services, I think a lot of people have that perception of like therapy and counseling and stuff, but we also provide a lot of the workshops, presentations to the public, to our internal community on different topics, right? We provide a lot of crisis topics, a lot of mental health topics as well. But not only do we provide those topics, but we also present and have the community involved in those issues as well. But going back to academic advisement, I think our strong hold there in counseling is providing the student with the academia portion in combination with the counseling and therapeutic aspect and the workshops as well. So it's kind of like a holistic type of approach that we have in the counseling department, which is very important. I think that a lot of students that have this perception of, oh, I don't want to go to counseling because of this and that, or I can self-advise, which is perfectly fine if they know exactly what they're doing, right? But like Carmen alluded to, a lot of times there's a lot of intricacies, right, in counseling, and they need to come in and we can provide that direction as well.
And I know a lot of my students want to go into the medical field because they know that they'll have a job once they graduate from our nursing program or or from some of the technical type programs. How, it seems that they have to rank to get into those programs. Could you talk a little bit about how that process works?
Sure. So in a nutshell, our Rio Grande Counseling Department is stellar in handling any student that is going into the health occupations, led by Ms. Veronica Sena, who's been the coordinator for a long time. So these students, really in a nutshell, need to follow prerequisite courses. Once they do these prerequisite courses, whether they're ranking courses or they're mandatory courses, they need to have a specialized admissions process done on that particular degree. So once that specialized admissions process is done, then they get to rank into the program. So it's not like, going into, like, let's say history or government, that, let's do a history degree or a government degree. I can advise the student, they could self-advise and do the pathway. This is a little bit different, in which they've got to take steps in being able to go into the program. So it depends a lot on their GPA, depends on their coursework, what grades they get on their coursework. So a lot of little details that make it very special.
And I think even, maybe some medical tests that they need and things like that, right? A TB test or?
Well, the background checks and all that, the vaccination records and stuff like that, those are all part of the prerequisite requirements that you need to get into those type of programs.
And so, like we've talked about today, best to go see a counselor in that field if you're interested in going into that type of program. Well, we're kind of coming to a close, and so I just wanted to take the time to thank you for being here. Thank you, District-wide Coordinator, Mr. Oscar Velasquez, and thank you, Ms. Carmen Castillo-Attar, for being our guest. Join us in the future, Entre Nosotras, Latina Voices, where we will have more interesting guests. And we're also available on EPCC TV's YouTube page if you want to catch some of our previous shows. Thank you.